because I want to ask this question while it's being recorded. When we do the regression using the three variables, which of those factors do you look at to determine which one has the most impact on the dependent variable?
So here is the thing. A multiple regression will tell you about most predictive, which will be the beta value. That beta one you get, and I'm drawing it, I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing, that will show largest strength. But you can then go through and do specific t-tests between each, right? Or you can run an ANOVA, which is what this will spit out also, which will compare different variables. So the regression is great to talk about predictive power, but it doesn't necessarily compare them directly to one another. Then you have to do a secondary analysis, but we're not going down that path. So truly,
so the beta is derived individually.
Yes, which is why you can have a linear regression.
Is the beta all? Sorry.
What?
Is the beta against all three, or is the beta individual?
Individual, because you can have a linear regression or a hierarchical regression where the way you stack the variables will then have more of an impact. Linear, you're just each checking it. So when you look at your p-value, it'll tell you whether it is a significant predictor, right? If there's significance with those predictive values. But then if you want to know really the individual weight of that one factor, you would have to run through a different analysis.
What are you looking for on this assignment?
So Jane had this earlier, and I think a couple of you guys even sent me examples, or maybe Monty, you did. So you need to replicate the table, and then you need to let me know whether those, like again, the interpretive statements, are those independent variable predictive of systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure. And you gather that from looking at your significance.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I did not grab gender either. For some reason, I thought it was just on age and weight. But when I did that, it did replicate the numbers that were in the initial study. So I didn't include gender, but it still gave me those numbers, which corroborated that, you know.
Well, and I'm looking at the table, and the table here has weight and age. So you probably copied exactly that. Gender would be another good one to look at. Again, the assignment makes more sense to me if you look at all of the variables. In the table right here, they have the coefficients and the standard of error for just weight and age, because those are continuous variables. So they are like numbers 1 through whatever, weight 300, you know, whatever. Whereas gender is a dichotomous variable, right? 1 and 2.
Okay.
So that's why you can't get a coefficient t-score with that.
Okay, but for the assignment, you want all three included.
I think all three makes more sense as to which one is predictive. If you just did 2, again, the exercise of this is to be able to get our hands a little dirty in the stats pool, right? Just a little, right? And so it's
mine are all muddy. Mine are all muddy.
So if you're able to select those in the table, and you figured out how to do the analysis in Excel, and you figured out how to get the same table that gives you a beta, that brings me lots of joy, right? Because you have then been able to run the analysis, which tells me if in the future someone said, could you do a regression? The answer would be yes, yes, I can, because I've done it before. And really the meat of this, like I said at the start of the class, is I'm not looking for perfection with stats, because this is not a stats class. It's being able to interpret what is it you're seeing.
Okay. So in sending you those 2 tables, and the first one being with the systolic that did match the numbers, I ran the second one the same way. So is that fine, or should I go back and grab it?
It's fine. Again, I'm not losing sleep over that.
Okay, I won't either anymore at this point.
Okay. So
I'm not
how
trying
are you doing, by the way, Mark? You've been on our mind.
Well, our we still have no internet. Our air conditioner is 2 feet underwater. Our
Oh,
basement's completely flooded. Our road, no one can leave our street because the road's collapsed. I live on a lake and the road's collapsed. And if you Google College Park, Florida, you can see it's completely underwater.
oh my
But yeah,
goodness.
we're fine. Everything's fine. It's just, I have to use my phone and my car, my generator, and the internet's super slow. So I apologize if it's bad.
No, it's
But-
fine. So roofs are okay, homes, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, a
basement
couple of
flooded.
of my neighbors got trees in their roofs. We're going to go help them later today. That's really the big issue, is just the flooding, because the idiot mayor, we found out, didn't open up the storm drains. And so a lot of this flooding could have been avoided had he didn't open up the storm drains until like 5 hours into the storm. And so it's going to be interesting to see lawsuits here, but everyone's safe. We're good.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's
Thank you. Thank you. Just question, and again, I'm not trying to circumvent doing the reading. I read all the reading. I went through your deck and I've watched YouTube videos. I would just love if you would. I'm personally interested in what you look at on the ANOVA and on the regression to determine which of those is most predictive.
Okay, so did you look
Like
through that,
what factors?
the code book? Did you look over there? Not the code book, sorry, the intro to
You mean-
regression. So we can look at the data that way?
Oh, you mean the Word document?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You're saying
So
my
if
answers
you-
in there.
If you look at page 9, there's a table that says result from multiple regression model, right? And you end up with a T-score. Now the constant, that first row, the constant row, that is not something we look at because it's not going to be predictive of either one of those variables. Weight and age is where we're looking for. Based on this, the beta coefficient, so again, that's what that value is, age shows 0.5. So that is a stronger predictor than weight is in this value. So when you look at the coefficient, that's where you're looking. Then when you scoot over down the table, you see the significance. They are both actually significant predictors. So again, it's hard to compare the two with just a regression. You would then have to do an ANOVA to compare the two values, and then you would get an F value. Remember when, I think it spits out an F value on here too. And then that F value will have a significance as well. So when you are doing a regression, you are looking at what is predictive of your dependent variable. You're looking for factors to try to better understand, but it is exploratory. You're trying to see, are these predictive? Once you have that information, you mine down and look at specific variable individually.
So when you ran the regression on all three, there wasn't enough data to determine which one was most predictive. And so then you run a regression on individually each one and look at the F value.
Yes, that would be an ANOVA at that point. Yes. Because
And the highest F value is the most significant.
well, usually the higher your F value, the smaller your P value gets, which means greater significance. Does that make sense?
In another world, maybe.
Yes, it does.
But it does.
Again, we're having this deeper conversation that is beyond the scope of what we're trying to get from this class, right? Getting to understand stats is helpful when we're reading research articles, because as we're being fed information on empirically supported, research, and they're saying F value is 112, P value less than 0.01, then you can go, oh, okay, so there was a significant difference and how that contributed to the dependent variable. You will understand that rather than just being it fed and reading a discussion and just absorbing what the author is telling you. You can come up, you're able to draw that conclusion on your own. That is the goal of the class.
Okay.
It's not advanced statistics.
Now I have a quick question, Dr. W. When we look at the increase in weight of 1 kilogram associated with that systolic at 0.36. Is that 1 kilogram representative of the standard error? Because I'm trying to figure out where they got that number. Where do we get 1 kilogram?
So if you think almost as like a slope of a
Yeah.
line,
Mhm.
that's how it's going up. So that is indicative of if you increase by that amount in weight, you're going to have a corresponding increase in your systolic blood pressure.
Okay. So where does the standard error fit in all of this?
So standard error, if you think about when you, giving a different example, if this whole class, right, took a test, we got a mean, right, an average, we would get a standard deviation also,
Mhm.
because the mean tells us the middle point. Then we need to know how much above and below is kind of our range of accepted error. And we get error based on what we predetermined from our p-value at 95% confidence.
Got it. I remember it, just the light bulb just went on.
Okay.
Doctor, when I ran age and weight, it only gave me a p-value for weight. It didn't give me a p-value for age.
When you look through that table,
I'll dig back in.
I got the same thing.
I got a p-value on weight of 1.02. P-value of age is 0.
oh, is it 0? Click on that cell and make sure that you allow more than just 2 decimal points. It could just be that it's really tiny, and so it's going to 0.
No, it's 0. I've clicked out like 9 places.
Okay, we'll have to double check that. Any questions from?
Yeah, I got to start all over.
Any questions from the lit review or things you guys want to discuss about the paper for week, like as we're heading in week 5 through 7, we're building out that methodology section. So I gave you guys those subheadings on how to organize your information. Any questions on that I can be helpful with?
I'll just say having the example was super helpful because
Good.
I was like not really sure, don't mind my children in the background.
Okay.
I was not really sure like what you were expecting lengthwise based on it, and seeing that it's just like a few paragraphs on like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is the intent.
Money.
I don't have any money here.
Yeah.
It's like
And
super helpful.
Well, in that particular paper was really the participant pool was very predetermined, right? Like I'm using athletes from these schools, so it's very small. But if your guys are like, I'm looking at pastors in the Northwest, right? Like picking something much broader, that section would be longer because we would need to know, like, who is it you want? Do you want somebody who's fresh out of seminary? Do you want somebody who is on the eaves of retirement, right? So then you want to talk about inclusion and exclusion criteria as to who you want in your study, and then how would you go about getting them? So that the recruitment phase, depending on your study, will look different. For some, it's, as random sampling. You've got these people, you randomly reach out to 120, and you get them from a list. Others, it's going to be a snowball sampling where you ask a couple people, then they refer you a couple more people, then they, so it just depends on each of your studies what that part will look like. But again, the bulk of the work on this paper was done at week 4. The rest is far more prescriptive in your writing. It's like, this is what I'm going to do. These are the surveys I want to use, and stats, this is what I'm going to run for a statistic. And that part can be one sentence, literally. I will do a correlational analysis.
Okay.
So I'm glad that helped then.
It
Yeah.
did.
It did
Good.
a lot. Because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be writing another 10 or 15 pages or if I'm just like writing 5. So that's
No. And again, when I taught the class like 8 years ago, this paper was really large, but the large part was never this section. It was always the literature review. because people brought in their candidacy paper, and the candidacy paper, you guys know, probably is already lots of pages. And so then we were adjusting the candidacy paper to a quantitative research. And that's why it stayed so big. But for some projects, it made no sense. Like people were asking to interview folks. I'm like, we're really pushing the quant here. So let's just redo. So yeah.
Okay, well, I think I may have it. As I was going back through that Excel worksheet, I thought for sure prayers had been answered with the storm. It was going to be all over for all of us. So, but since we survived, thank God.
You were so good. Well,
Sorry,
and-
Mark. Sorry, Mark. I didn't know you were there, but I was hoping we all could talk about this in heaven. But since that didn't happen, I'm continuing on.
yeah. Well, and the good news is I'm double checking because I don't want to lie, but this is the last data analysis assignment. So
Wow.
next week is short and easy. You just have a reflection paper, and then yeah, it's we're very much at the tail end. We're on the down slope.
Okay.
I had a question just
Yeah.
about the grade book. It's kind of
Please,
not that
yes.
heavy, but I did notice that some of our assignments are under uncategorized, which has no weight. So basically those assignments aren't counting for anything at all. And I know you graded my assignment, which one is it? The 2.2 data analysis, but the grade isn't in the grade book.
So the data analysis, so that one was tricky. Somehow it wasn't in the grade book before. I am seeing it here.
Yeah, now it's under data analysis at the top. I just don't have a grade there on mine.
Yeah, so it's like, it's grading in the assignments tab, but it's not carrying over to the actual grade book is kind of what seems like it's connected. Because if you go into the actual assignment, you can see like your
You can see the
grade, but it's
grade.
just not carrying over.
And then like under discussion forums, I have a grade for week 1, week 2, and week 4, but I don't have one for week 3. And then under quizzes, the only quiz that's there is the week 2 quiz. And
But
then
you
the
can
other
see
quizzes
them.
since then are under uncategorized where they're not counting.
But do you see the quiz score as I grade it?
I
Yeah,
see,
so yeah.
But it's
I
just
can
not
see
when
it
you
on
click on grade book, that's where the issue is.
yeah,
Okay, so I am sad / happy to report that that is not on me. That's on the Sakai guru, Dave. They just told us faculty 2 weeks ago that Sakai was getting uploaded, and to check with our admin, which for us is Morgan, to verify the grade books. I'm going to make sure that she has relinked everything. So thank you
Okay.
for letting me know.
yeah, it's just kind of a mess. So
Yeah.
hopefully she can see what's.
Yeah, I've got due
But-
dates. They were 2019. So
But I'm hoping that you guys are able to see the scores that I've assigned you. Or no, you don't see anything.
In the
I
grade
don't.
book, I don't see it. Yeah, in the assignments tab, I can see, I
So you
think.
see that I've graded your things, but you have to look at it in a different spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
yeah, you can see your feedback. Like for me, I can see my feedback on like my literary review and my score on it. It's just not carrying over the grade book. So I can't like get a cumulative idea of where I'm at in the class because
Got
the
it.
grade book's not accurate. But I can be like, oh, I'm mostly at A's, so okay, we should
Yeah.
be good.
Everyone's doing just fine. So, but yes, we will fix the grade book because that's, so when I grade at the end, I have a different summary sheet than this grade book. And I have to enter your grades in a different system. It's not even Sakai. So your
Mm.
final grade doesn't even quite come from here. But yes, we need to make sure that this makes sense. Thank you, Vivian.
Sure.
Anything else I can be helpful with?
Just
No.
one last easy question. Did we submit this 5.3? We email that personally to you or submit? I don't see a place to submit it in the book. Just email that to you.
What do you mean 5.3? Like the data? Oh, the method? That's just an email. That's just a building block assignment. Yep. To let me know what is it you're thinking. This way we can have that conversation. It's again building towards your final paper.
Did I just email that to you directly?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Doctor, thank you for your time.
Of course. Please reach out if you guys have any other questions. For a few of you, I wrote some comments in the lit review of like, hey, let's chat before we wrap up week 7, because I want to make sure that we're measuring things accurately and that it makes sense. So I'm happy to have one-on-one conversations, or if you feel like, oh, we can discuss this via email, we could do that too.
I'd
Whatever.
like to have that one-on-one.
Okay, perfect. So let's email to find a time then.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. You guys make it a great day.
Yeah, same with you. Vivian, how's the move? You managing?
All right, I'm sitting in my RV here, so my house is on the market, hoping for some showings. Not getting a lot of nibbles yet, so I think it's the market slowed down, but.
Where are
open
you
for
again?
business. So my house is in Houston. I'm in Conroe, which is just north of Houston right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, the market has shifted some. The increased interest rates certainly have played a role in that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, if that's it, then I'll stop the recording and share it with the class later. We're thinking about you, Mark. Hope everything goes well. Stay
Thank you.
safe.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.